Hi folks, Pat here. And tonight's rant is once again about Fast and Furious. But it's about Fast and Furious adding insult to injury. There was a news report on Fox's News website this week, and the report was entitled that Fast and Furious whistleblowers struggle 6 months after testifying. And the gist of the report was the fact that these gentlemen who come forward to expose Fast and Furious, when they went before Congress, even though Congress informed all the agencies involved in Fast and Furious that these gentlemen who were testifying would not be subject to any reprisals or retaliatory action, by the agencies involved, which of course they were, and apparently are still being. As ridiculous as that sounds, because that's how our Justice Department honors truth. I'm not going to read the whole article this year. I just want to touch on a couple of highlights, or lowlights as you will, about an agent named Dodson. Special Agent Dodson, I'm going to paraphrase here a little bit, but Special Agent Dodson was assigned to a group known as Group 7, who was responsible for the management of Fast and Furious. And when he started working there, he started looking around and saying, well, wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for. And he had some serious concerns with the program, concerns he expressed in no uncertain detail to his managers, one of which was a gentleman named Voth. Well, for his honesty and integrity in coming forward and his courage, he was reassigned to weekend duty and to wire room, which was a relatively boring job monitoring telephone traffic and subordinate to the junior agents. Soon after, he was temporarily assigned to another group for additional menial assignments and basically signed right out of the department. Now, a couple other things that would Dodson get for telling the truth? In Phoenix, he was isolated, marginalized, and referred to as a nut job, a wingnut, and disgruntled, according to sources. And in Washington, ATF command ordered that contact with Dodson was detrimental to any ATF career. But that's not the worst of it, folks. The worst of it was that Dodson apparently, even after being assigned out of the group, he continued to challenge Voth, saying the operation was killing people in Mexico, being Fast and Furious, and suggested it was only a matter of time before a border agent or sheriff's deputy would be killed by one of the guns they let go. Apparently, the response to this was, if you're going to make an omelet, you've got to scramble some eggs, Voth replied, according to a congressional report. If you're going to make an omelet, you've got to scramble some eggs. This guy Voth, I think, is still working there. He may have been promoted. He might be running the place now. I don't know. But if you read through the article, and again, the article is Fast and Furious whistleblowers struggle 6 months after testifying. It'll show you where all the people who were responsible were reassigned, and in some cases promoted, like this gentleman Voth, who was apparently supervising more people than he ever supervised before. How they were given other assignments rather than relegated to a lesser duty, like the people who came forward and actually testified. So this is disturbing in and of itself, but I'm sure the Terry family, takes great solace from the fact that their son was considered an egg in an omelet. I'm a veteran, folks, and I'll tell you, it really, to me, is unimaginable thinking that here Brian Terry's government set him into battle, in no uncertain terms, while they were supplying his enemies with weapons far superior than he was carrying. Does that make any sense? According to some reports, he was armed with what do you call those things that fire the beanbag weapons, that fire the beanbags. And his opponents were armed with AK-47s, which beat a beanbag weapon pretty much any day of the week. Imagine if your sons or daughters were set in combat, while the same government who was sending them to combat was arming their enemies with weapons superior than your sons or daughters. I'm sure you'd have a problem with that. And there's no excuse for it. And the fact that was just due to ineptitude, to the organizations involved, omelet making, bad job omelet making, it's inexcusable. Now, what's also inexcusable is the way that this whole thing has been covered up. Look at Eric Holder, and who seems to be far more concerned with the fact that he's innocent and that it was probably Republicans who did it than in accepting any blame in the matter. Look at how these people, they went so far as to, they made a letter apologizing for the death of Brian Terry, and they leaked it to the press. Unfortunately, they didn't do the next logical thing, or really what would have been the first logical thing, and mail it to the guy's parents. You know, how pathetic is that? How truly pathetic is that? You know, they're more concerned with covering their butts and saying and looking, you know, I don't know what the word is, superior. You know, you don't have to just look at Fast and Furious, because this is just another example of how this administration treats its enemies. And unfortunately, its enemies are anyone willing to tell the truth about it. You know, look at, it's just going to go back a little bit to Obamacare, when Obamacare was passed. And shortly thereafter, you had all these companies, AT&T, you know, came forward and said they were going to have $1 billion write-down because of Obamacare. And Caterpillar and John Deere and Verizon all came forward to announce the losses they were going to incur because of the result of Obamacare. Well, this infuriated Congressman Henry Waxman to no end. And Congressman Waxman demanded that these corporations come forward and testify to the fact of why they were disparaging this program, this wondrous program, you know, that was the brainchild of, you know, President Obama. That was his baby, his, what's the word, defining moment, his defining act, the passing of this boondoggle Obamacare. Well, then he you know, cut short his demands when he found out that they were right, and that they were only bringing forward these reports because they were required by law to do so. I guess making laws kind of, you know, eliminates any responsibility you have to actually reading them, doesn't it, there, Congressman? But this is the kind of thing, again, this administration and its cronies do. You know, it's what they're known for. It's the Chicago way. And all these individuals that make up the Obama administration are just following the Chicago way. And that's how we deal with graft. That's how we deal with corruption. That's how we deal with ineptitude, is we sweep it under the carpet. You know, and adding insult to injury is, you know, in this case, is unexcusable. And, you know, folks, I don't expect it to get better anytime soon. In fact, I expect it to get worse. And that's a shame. And, you know, my heart goes out to the Terry family and to the family of those agents who, you know, who these poor guys are trying to do their job and subject to such crap. Unexcusable. And that's my rant for tonight. Thank you for listening.